Hey there guys, it's Metro, and today we're checking out the developer water cooler battle for Azeroth class design overview. We're going to read through this. I've yet to do it. This is going to be the first time I've read any of these words live. I'm going to do it and give my unbridled reactions, okay? Now, before I do, I just want to say, for all those idiots out there who say things like, there's no communication with the development. They don't they don't communicate all this stuff. It's like, man, I don't know what game you're playing. I don't know. I really feel like people who say that are just not involving themselves in the right community. But anyway, we're gonna read this. I have a feeling this is going to be very important. This is probably going to be important for me. A lot of the stuff we talk about is whether or not Blood DK is going to stay the same. Talk about utility and dungeons, all this stuff. And it seems like, based on the bold words, class uniqueness and utility, I have to say, man, and based on the way I'm thinking about this already, makes me feel like I was talking about this with other people from the Classic community, but I really feel like they're moving back towards the way class design was in Classic. And I don't know. We'll talk about that. Anyway, the development of World of Warcraft Battle of Azeroth is well underway, and we want to share some insights into our philosophies and approach the class design for the expansion. While the launch of Legion brought lots of change to all of Warcraft's classes, Battle for Azeroth will closely resemble the example set by Legion's patch content, targeted iterations based on player feedback and data. The intro cinematic of Battle with Azeroth, revealed at Blizzcon 2017, has an underlying theme that resonates deeply with the class design team. Remember what makes us strong. All right, there we go. With that in mind, our goals for the next expansion are to promote what makes each class unique, focus on making group gameplay the best it can be, and continue our efforts to improve combat visuals and effects. While we believe some specializations will need substantial iteration to achieve these goals, others will not, and our target is greater stability. Let's make this a little bit bigger so you guys. Greater stability across the board. All right, so class uniqueness. One area we are trying to focus on across all classes is to better emphasize what makes each class unique and provide greater distinction among their various capabilities, especially when it comes to utility. Tools that fall outside the core. Well, yeah, we know what utility is, dude. Part of what makes you feel excitement and pride in your class is pulling off a heroic moment and feel the appreciation of your group when individually contributing to a shared success. That's me, that's me, that's me. That feeling is eroded when so many classes bring similar abilities and you feel you rarely provided something distinctive. Very articulate there. More differentiation in this area will create situations where another class can do something you can't, but you will similarly bring a tool to the table that your allies lack. Yes, that is awesome. This is all about 5-mans. I could see already, like, the thought here is keeping the classes all bringing something interesting for all different types of PvE. And clearly, like, I just finished up the DPS tier list. Tier 5, number 9. Anyway, yeah, I just finished up the DPS tier list. And, yeah, this was a big topic in it. So I'm really happy to see Blizzard. They understand that, finally. This contrast causes members of a team to be more dependent on each other to succeed and encourages different group compositions to approach different encounters in different ways. I agree. Pursuing this goal will likely involve adding some new abilities or re-adding previously removed abilities, Dark Sim, to give classes a more unique signature where needed. Will also likely involve reining in the ability of certain utility types, especially those that are so widespread that they rarely provide meaningful contrast between classes. Yes, I could totally agree. Oh, here we go. As a notable example, area of effect stuns. See, there you go. I told you, man. It's just overpowered. It really, especially in 5-mans, makes too big of an impact on some pulls. Some of the most powerful utility that exists are so abundant that most groups have at least one or two. As a result, decision-making around that tool is often less about when it would be best used and more about avoiding overlap with other AoE stuns. Not only does this sometimes drown out the importance of other crowd control in dungeons, but it means the class bringing an AoE stun to a group is not the major strategy-defining asset that it should be. Our goal is that whatever powerful kind of utility a class brings, it's something that the group would be happy to have to their toolbox as they approach a challenge. Yeah, I don't know if that... I think Legion's pretty... I don't know what they're going to change, but, I mean, obviously nerfing AoE stuns, I'm totally fine with. They also bring something up that really rings true with the classic mentality, is that AoE stuns effectively just replaced crowd control. If you use AoE stuns properly right now, you don't need to CC anything. But if you had no... Imagine having no AoE interrupts or AoE stuns. Imagine if they took those out of the game, how Mythic Plus would be. How, like, teaming Halls of Valor would go. You know what I'm saying? It would be very different. I guess people are already doing it a little different. But anyway... The goal of contrast between the abilities of different specializations is not limited to utility. We're also looking at different specialization strength and weaknesses in their main role, damage dealing, DPS, healing, and tanking, and making sure everyone has something to get excited about and an opportunity to shine. Some DPS specializations are bursty. That's it's funny. Doing fast damage. Some live for attrition, wearing away their target. Some specializations prefer to isolate and drill into a single target, while others revel in blowing up huge packs of monsters. Much of this plays out naturally due to the varying sets of damaging abilities, but we are working more intently than in the past to ensure an appropriate variety and spread of DPS strengths and weaknesses. Likewise, healers and tanks should have a bit more identity throughout through their unique healing and mitigation profiles. That's good. I mean, that's a really important thing. I'm really glad to hear them say that because, yes, as long as they understand that burst and, like, yeah, they're not equal, right? Just because everybody does 1.5 million DPS does not mean that the guy who did 5 million DPS on the pole and 900k DPS after that is the same as the guy who did 1.5 million for 5 straight minutes, you know? It's very different, and it matters a lot in 5-mans, but also in all PvE. That type of damage profile is incredibly important when you're building a raid team as well. So likewise, healers and tanks should have a bit more identity through their unique healing and mitigation profiles. That makes me worry a little bit, but I like hearing it one way or the other. It's good for the game. It may not be good for me, but another part of this approach involves working with our content design teams to collaborate on a world where quests, dungeons, and raids create opportunity for all different types of the class strengths to shine. If we're arming classes with distinct tools that provide powerful answers to different situations, it's important that the game's content provides a broad array of challenges that play into different tools. That is very interesting to hear because it's clearly one of the biggest problems with Mythic Plus. Right now, we talked about this a lot in the past. There's obviously a lot of utility that are simply mandatory or very, very useful in 5-mans and some that are simply not, like Shroud of Concealment. That got removed and it was added back, and now that basically propels Rogue all the way up to the top of the tier list always. It's just an invaluable utility. Anytime you're skipping mobs in a timer, it's always going to be useful. So. And then we got two more sections here, it seems. Overall, talent system will remain largely unchanged, but we will be refining our approach. One of the major challenges is setting up talent rows is that they serve two conflicting desires. Choices within a row should be meaningfully varied, but also should not feel like they are simply a test of which is best in a particular setting. I don't think you can win that fight, honestly, but I think at least they acknowledge it. If a row has 3 similar area damage talents, your decision can feel like it boils down to a complex math problem. If a row mixes area damage and single target talents, you'll likely feel you should change talents to suit the content you're doing, which also rarely feels like a choice. The most successful talent rows are those with options that have a generally consistent role in your toolkit, but have very different delivery and mechanics, allowing players to thoughtfully customize their identity and complexity. I guess that's true, and that's one of the big differences between talents now and in Classic. There was no thoughtfully customizing your complexity, but you were customizing your identity, right? That's what a lot of people think about when they think about the Classic talent trees, but really they were very non-complex, I guess. I don't know if that's the right modifier for that, but anyway, they were not very complex, let's put it that way. So like it's kind of the opposite. Like right now with Legion talents, for the most part, they don't really customize your identity. There's some, but like, you know, Blood DK is a great example. Almost no discernible identity customization unless you're taking the wrong talents outright, right? But they can definitely customize your complexity if you're using different types of talents. So yeah, I don't know. I think this is a very good thing to hear from Blizzard at this point. One other lesson we've already begun implementing in Legion patches is being careful with the effect that talents have on pacing, how frequently we get to press your buttons, and how often you generate resources and cooldowns. Of course, many talents affect the pacing of a rotation, and this will continue to be the case, and there are some of the talents with the most noticeable and fun feel to them. If you have access to multiple talents that slow down or speed up your rotation, players can end up outside the bounds of what feels good to play, for example, by being resource-starved or flooded. As we review talents going forward, we will try to avoid this by having strong resource-generating talents compete with each other and better limiting the pacing change allowable for any single talent. Great example there. I think Red Thirst, maybe not exactly what they were trying to say, but I really feel like Red Thirst is the great example of this. It's definitely the one talent I expect to get massively changed in the expansion, but maybe at this point, maybe we're wrong about that. Maybe they like the way Red Thirst heavily like optimizes or accelerates the pacing of Vamp Blood. So I don't know. Artifacts here and gone. This should be interesting. One particular challenge for the class design team throughout Legion was handling the introduction and eventual removal of artifacts. The idea was exciting. Design a large set of bonuses with the intention that they would be contained within an expansion, allowing us to make them flashier, more complex, and more numerous than we'd be able to in a specialization's permanent set of core abilities. But the process of parting with artifacts produces a complex set of decisions about how to adjust the base class to play well in their absence. The largest issue is where the pacing of a spec's rotation was heavily affected by artifacts. In that case, removing the artifact may result in a rotation that's too slow or has too much open time where the core buttons aren't available. In the process of reviewing and updating each specialization, for Battle of Azeroth, we want to make sure all of them are paced appropriately after the removal of artifacts. In some cases, we may do things like increase resource generation or reduce cooldowns to fill in some of the newly open space. For traits that go beyond simple numerical changes and have their own identity, such as active abilities or the powerful and noticeable procs, we are on the lookout across all specs for a small selection of traits that are worth tuning into permanent parts of a class. The bar is high for a trait to become permanent. It's an intended part of an experience to a system like artifacts that the bonuses are layered on top of the core functionality of your class. You get to explore these bonuses thoroughly, but eventually move on from them. That leaves space in the permanent classes for new special bonuses from other systems in the future, and we'll soon be exploring with Azerite armor. That said, various specs will likely see one or two familiar traits from artifacts showing up in their talent trees in Battle for Azeroth. Oh boy. These are broad philosophies that are guiding our design in Battle for Azeroth, Battle the Azeroth, and we are deliberately light on sharing specific examples of change, which are still in a state of flux at this stage. We welcome a community discussion on the principles we outlined and look forward to delving into detailed and specific changes as we move forward with our beta testing in the future. So yes, I'm very happy to hear all this. I'd love to see some of the comments here. Sounds like they're taking good things from vanilla. Wow, yeah, it really does, right? Let's see, what does this guy say? Mop is good, but pales in comparison to the likes of Wrath or even early Kata. Damn, of course. But anyway, yeah, I'm really excited. Oh, God, here we go. They can start by reverting Hunter to Mop or Watt and try again. Legion was a failure. Yeah, I bet it was. Anyway, the thing that I'm most excited about is that they seem to at least recognize the problems going forward without the artifact. The artifact, especially for a Blood Death Knight, is like probably the most important. I don't see any other tank being as more important than the artifact for Blood DK. Umbilicus Eternus and the extra dancing rune weapon are basically why the class functions as it does. So without that, they're going to really suck. I really have to say that. So I don't know. I'm hoping to see Umbilicus Eternus. Maybe Umbilicus Eternus would be most balanced alongside Red Thirst, like if it was on the same talent tree. But yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that's an interesting read. I did not expect to have that. I just kind of did this on a whim. I'm glad I read it. It didn't seem like anything too groundbreaking, but that's pretty much a great... can someone TLDR this? That's fucking embarrassing. Anyway, yeah, it's a great example of... oh, God. I assume our pruning was a shit, and we may do better. We hope also talents provide very little choice, but we are too lazy to make our talent tree system interesting, so we put similar talents into one row because our metrics show these talents row are more diverse. These people, man. Sounds boring as hell. Yeah, I agree. I would unsub if I were you. Agrophobic. That's all great, but this is just a big wall of text without actually saying anything. I disagree. I think they actually got... Yeah, exactly. Not true at all. Read. They've stated multiple times they went too far with pruning, and throughout the statement they are reiterating the fact that they want to add more abilities back and continue to try to make classes unique. I understand some feel empty and want to add more back. I know you're negative about damn near everything, but it's quite clear they want to find a happy medium. Yes, I completely... I mean, it's really a really good point, guys. Yeah, like they didn't say anything specific, which I guess nobody should be surprised by. But yeah, I'm happy to see this. This is a very good thing to hear that they're very aware of utility. This is all you need to say: utility, and how talent systems and artifacts have gotten to that point. So. Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, if you guys have any commentary or questions on this, let me know. I kind of like the idea of just like reading blue posts and kind of commenting on the threads and, you know, like the comment. It's starting to smell a lot like beta. I have to say I agree with that. I think we'll see beta probably in the next few weeks. Maybe, well, I can't actually see it because of the webcam. But yeah, maybe January 30th when the pre-order comes out. Quote unquote, when the pre-order comes out 1 week from today or yesterday. We may hear a little bit more about that, but... players, we do not want this shit talent spell. Blizzard, yes you do. That's how they look at class design. If alpha beta will start, don't even bother with your feedback because they won't read it anyway. That's interesting. It's really funny to hear people say that because I really feel like if you say that, You just haven't played the game over the last 10 years. I think that's just, I don't know. I think that's factual. If you think that they're going to change something when it's already developed, like, I think the problem here is people think like the alpha and beta is like, we're sandbox developers, you know? It's like, all right, we put all this shit together. Do you guys like it? If not, we'll just change it. It's like, no, dude, this is done already, man. Like, they're not gonna redesign a fucking class because you don't like it. I don't know what to tell you, man. People like that really get on my nerves. Where is this guy's actual comment? People like that really get on my nerves because it's like, dude, they can't just redesign 30 specs because people don't like them. And nobody likes them. That's the thing. Nobody ever likes the way anything ever is in this game. So if they listen to you, fucking casual, who can't even be asked to put a fucking icon in your you know what I mean? You can't even get an avatar for a forum. What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we just going to keep redesigning classes every single patch? So I don't know, man. Anyway, that's probably everything. So let's take it off. We'll see you guys. Probably gonna stream maybe Thursday night, maybe Friday for sure. Definitely Friday. But anyway, if you have any comments on this, let me know. Otherwise, have a good one, and we'll see you guys in the next one.